it's through fear that then guides people to different behaviours, because what the mind wants to do is keep people safe.
Hello, Niomi, and welcome to episode 2 of the MoshCast. It's a privilege to be here to have this interview with yourself. If you don't mind first, would you mind introducing yourself to anyone who's unfamiliar with yourself and the work that you do, please?
Yeah, so I do bits of everything, as you know. I've got fingers in a few different pies. So I suppose the predominant thing I do is around leadership.
Yep.
I love building leaders and building capacity, but not so much what they have to do, more about who they need to become.
Yep.
And that leads into some of the individual services I do. So I do a thing called rapid transformational therapy, so RTT,
Yep.
which actually goes in and deals with subconscious programming around thoughts, emotions, and behaviours and adjusts those. And I've recently started using the hypnotherapy to do something that's a little bit outside the box,
Yep.
Which is going into past lives. So not just looking at the subconscious as we do in RTT, but looking at the whole journey that we've been on and how that has led to different programming and belief systems we have. So that's a new thing I've been doing and it's blowing my mind.
Fantastic.
And I also have a podcast myself, which you've been a guest on.
Yes, no, it's been great to be on that guest. And I think what was really cool is both of us had these podcasts idea at the same time. You're on about episode 40, I'm on episode 2. So that's for me to up my game a little bit in the next year.
Come on.
But I think what we're both doing, which is really powerful, is having conversations with unique individuals and putting good vibes out into the world. There is obviously a challenge right now in the media, a lot of fear-based narratives that exist, and it's easy to get bogged down in the fear. Obviously with the work you do, and going into that sort of subconscious stuff with people, what they've been programmed from life, how much does fear play a role in that for a lot of people as well?
It does play a thing. The main thing that I find is it's through fear that then guides people to different behaviours, because what the mind wants to do is keep people safe.
Yep.
And so when we're not in a state of fear, then we're in a state of feeling safe. And so it establishes these thoughts, emotions, behaviours that at some point have been helpful in that safety and eliminating any of the risk or the fear that comes across into your life.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And you mentioned before about your, trying to work with people to become leaders. I know you've been very involved in the Bunbury Chamber of Commerce Southwest Leaders Program with Danny Griffin.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about your involvement in that program? And this program is now going into year 2. Is that correct, I believe?
I think it's the second year I've been in it. I think it's about year 4 by memory. Yeah, so it was running for a couple of years before the chamber became involved.
Yes.
So that's why it's got that history there.
Yeah.
So last year I was involved as a mentor and was really chuffed to be able to deliver at the Leadership Day and deliver a presentation on workplace psychological safety, another passion.
Yeah.
This year I've been lucky enough to actually be involved in the committee and help do the matches.
Yeah.
And also help guide some of the mentors and mentees on their journey. So it's an amazing program and we're really lucky, I think, to have it.
Yeah. Am I right in thinking the numbers have about doubled from what they were last year, give or take?
Yeah, they've definitely jumped up a fair bit and the interest is gaining. And I think I'm speaking to people now, though, they go, oh, I wish I heard about that. So I have no doubt next year it'll probably
do the same again.
Jump up again.
I know, known a few people who did the program last year, and just my personal involvement with the Chamber of Commerce, I would say that was possibly the biggest program the Chamber undertook last year. And I know from certain individuals, you could just see them maybe there was an inexperience or a youthful part of what they were before, but that mentor-mentee journey, you really saw those people step up and go out to have a bigger impact on the world. And I mean, ultimately, that's what the Leaders Program is about, I'm assuming.
Yeah. And it's funny because even as a mentor, I grew. Yes. Right. So it wasn't even just about, here's these mentees, let's help grow them. The program actually helps everyone grow in some form or capacity. And I mean, my job is about growing people.
Yep.
And still I grew, right, in that relationship that I had with my mentee. She was just amazing. So it's great to hear stories of that as well, that as a mentor, it's not just about giving back, we're actually receiving stuff too.
Yeah. I think that to me, that ties into like a growth mindset, is where we can be teachers, but we're always students as well. There's always something to learn and grow from every experience. And perhaps if we just see ourselves on a teacher only, then we miss the opportunity that, to grow and to learn and to adapt and evolve when we can be the student. And often as a parent, like your kids can be the greatest teachers. As a business owner, your clients and your circumstances can be the same as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's really, really beautiful to hear you as a mentor growing and gaining so much from what you're giving the program. And you get this nice sort of reciprocal energetic exchange, for want of a better term as well, hey?
Yeah, and I find even with the work that I do with individuals, same thing happens. Like every one of my clients is completely different, presents differently, has different energy they bring to the room, different, presenting problems that they have to deal with. And even though there's kind of a structure to the sessions, I'm kind of intuitively bringing in different bits and pieces to work with them as an individual.
Yeah.
And so every day I get to learn from people around me. I'm pretty lucky, actually. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about rapid transformational therapy. And I want to kick that off because I've been a client of yours. I've had an RTT session.
Yeah.
Can you just talk a little bit more about what RTT is first for anyone watching? And then I'm happy to delve into my personal journey and other things you experience with your clients as well.
Yeah, if I can, I'll just step back a little bit in that as well. So part of my wanting to help people, I did psychology degree.
Yep.
So that was going to be my path. I was going to go in and become a clinical psychologist. And just towards the end of that, I fell across RTT with Marissa Peer. She's the founder in the UK. And she did a session on Mindvalley. I don't know if you've heard of Mindvalley.
Yep.
And I was taken in, and that's just remote online. I was taken in and I was just like, I've got to learn this. So rung up, signed up, and I learned more in that space for applicable things than I did in my psych degree. And so I thought, hang on a minute, maybe you change of direction. You know how you set yourself a path and you end up just going
universe takes you on a different direction.
So that's what happened. So I ended up focusing more on that, and it really just is, I find it's just really amazing how much it connects with people. And because it's facilitated under hypnosis, and some people might be a bit dubious about that, but when they're feeling safe in that space, the connection they get is on such a deep level. And I've heard people say it's less about what they're seeing in the scenes that come up and more about what they're feeling and experiencing, and that's how they connect with the scenes. So my job really is just to guide them through. They kind of do all the work, and it's so beautiful to watch it. It's really amazing.
Absolutely. Like I'll talk a bit of my own experience here. Like we probably did a session 2-3 months ago, give or take now. It's been a weird time frame this year. And I know for me, like having done a lot of other personal growth work and dealing with like trauma issues from the past as well, like a lot of things were good and moving in the right direction, but I still felt like there were certain things stopping me from being able to just be the best of what I could be, for want of a better term. We did a session. I know there was 3. I won't cover on what came up, but there was 3 things that came up that we went through. Like you said, you held the space and I worked through. And since that time, I would just say there's been a calmer focus that I've had. And I've even spoken to my wife, like, how have I been since this session, to try and get some external validation outside of my own thoughts. And she said, like, there's a noticeable difference, like a bit more calm, a bit more presence at home, less overwhelmed being a business owner, which, the last 3.5 years have thrown us all in the washing machine, so to speak. And for me, it's just been like, okay, cool. I feel like there's a better foundation to deal with what's going to come my way. And obviously as a business owner, there is many challenges coming our way on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. But also as a father, as a husband, as a member of the community, it's about balancing those roles. And I just feel now I feel solid. It's probably the only way to describe it. It's hard to put into words because it's not like there's anything immediately visually obvious to people, but I know on a day-to-day, and in talking with my wife, who obviously sees me on the day-to-day, in the good, the bad, and the ugly, she's sort of seen and felt some of that as well. Obviously that's my experience. Can you expand more upon your collective client experiences without necessarily naming names and keeping it confidential, about the impact it's had on some of them, and how it's maybe changed their lives, and obviously how you've grown from facilitating in that work as well, please? So there's 3 ways it usually comes through for the client. So because it's working so deeply on the subconscious, it can be immediate, which most clients do get it immediately. It can be something progressive
that they notice changes over time. And for some clients, they don't think anything's changed. And one day they go, oh, I do that differently.
Yeah.
Right? And I feel like the ones that just go, oh, and have that aha moment are probably my most successful, because it's so deeply embedded that they don't even realize their life's different until that moment. They go, oh, and then they think back and go, yeah, I've been doing all this differently. So that's the beauty of it. So when our conscious mind comes in, we have to work hard at something. Whereas this kind of just allows things to just work easy and just come through. So the work with my clients, I've said to a few of them, I would have loved to have taken a photo before and after.
Yeah.
Because they even look different.
Yeah.
So without going too woohoo, we all have a certain vibration or an energy that comes out. And when we shift things within us, it creates different space in there. And physically, they can look, I think maybe it's more relaxed, less traumatized from some clients, which is really amazing. But I've worked with, I suppose, the most profound scene, I think, that I had come up, and I tell everyone this, so maybe some of your listeners have heard it, is a scene of a client of mine that came in for anxiety. And she experienced really bad anxiety. So we went back and she said to me, I had a great upbringing, great parents. I don't remember any trauma in my life. Everything was fine. So I was like, oh, interesting. Let's go explore.
Let's dive deeper.
Let's go in. So the main scene I feel like that made the difference for her was when she was 4 years old. So she woke up from a nightmare and she went into the hallway and she felt like there was something watching her, which she says after the session, as 4-year-old, you're just intimidated by the nightmare.
Yeah.
So she made her way to her parents' room and she went to wake her mum up, and her mum, half asleep, was just like, you'll be right, go back to bed.
Parents just trying to...
That's what we do, right?
Survive, yeah.
Yeah, and especially if we're sleep deprived, we don't realise the impact. And she didn't at the time either. So her little brain at 4 years old, the subconscious mind goes, you know what? When you need something, no one's going to be there, because your mum is your biggest ally, your biggest fan, and not even she was there.
Yeah.
And so then that created some anxiety for her. So every time she went to approach something, her subconscious went, get worried about this because no one's got your back.
Yep.
And so that was the biggest shift that she had in the session, to actually know, hang on, I'm not 4 anymore. Again, and because that's the other thing as well, the subconscious mind grips onto the belief system at the cognition of the age you're at.
Yep.
So shifting that and then going, hang on, I'm an adult now. If I have a nightmare, I'm good.
Yeah.
If something this happens, I'm good. And shifting the way that belief system set in created complete change. And without going into detail, she actually had a medical emergency with her daughter not long after. And she said to me, even her husband said, who are you?
Wow.
She was cool, calm, collected through the whole process. She said, some bits were coming up, but she was in a place where she could actually manage it to be able to show up for her daughter, and surprised her, really surprised her.
I think that part there you've mentioned